Whether you like the term Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing or digital factory or digital manufacturing, whatever you choose, they really should be thought of as visions or journeys rather than destinations with clear boundaries. What this means is that the concepts are really in the eyes of the beholder. It can and will mean different things to different people and different companies. And that's okay. So instead of waiting for this formal definition to be adopted by everyone in the industry, you should figure out what it means to your company.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Engatica interview series. I'm your host Sahil and we are really glad to have you join us today. Today we have Jeff Winter, an industry executive at Microsoft and an Industry 4.0 and Digital Transformation Enthusiast on the show. One of the things that makes Jeff unique is his involvement in the Industry 4.0 community. Jeff is an extremely active in over a half a dozen industry associates, academic groups, standard bodies, and advisory boards. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
The Engatica interview series is a powerhouse of insights from industry experts and influencers from around the world, a platform that provides the latest news on AI, automation, and technologies that can help you grow your business. Come, be a part of our community. Share, learn, and grow with us. So, Jeff, I'm going to shoot my first question directly at you. So Industry 4.0 is revolutionizing the way companies manufacture, improve, and distribute their products. Can we start by explaining to our viewers what is Industry 4.0 and what are its promises that would excite us?
Sure. So the idea and vision of Industry 4.0 originated from Hanover Fair in 2011, and that turned into the high-tech strategy of the German government. And this idea of Industry 4.0 then took hold around the world, but every country sort of made their own version of it, all similar, but not exactly the same. To put it in perspective, the two largest standards bodies in the world, ISO and IEC, they got together to form a group called Joint Working Group 21 for the main purpose of getting consensus and definition for Industry 4.0. Interestingly enough, they chose smart manufacturing as the term because they thought it was more accepted worldwide, even though more people just Google Industry 4.0. But it was meant to encapsulate the same sentiment as what was presented by the German government. And this group has been working together for years. I'm actually a part of the committee, and they were developing different definitions and technical reports over these years. 6 to 10 definitions were floating around until the middle of 2021, until they finally agreed and developed a standard. An official worldwide consensus was just made about 6-9 months ago. So after a decade, Industry 4.0, after a decade after it was introduced, the world finally defined it. They just defined it as smart manufacturing. But that's crazy. So that means that going forward, this is the definition that will be used in dozens and dozens of ISO and IEC standards that reference the concept of smart manufacturing. And just so you're aware, this ISO and IEC, it's in their technical report 63306, and they define smart manufacturing as manufacturing that improves its performance aspects with integrated and intelligent use of processes and resources in cyber, physical, and human spheres to create and deliver products and services which also collaborate with other domains within the enterprise value chains. That's a big definition. So here's how I like to describe it. Industry 3.0 is about automation, or the reduction of human intervention in processes. Industry 4.0 is about cognition, or the process of acquiring knowledge and understanding. And what separates these two is your ability to properly capture and harness the power of data.
Sure. Thank you for the second definition. The first one was really complicated for me as well.
Official definition.
Yeah, the official definition, that's correct. I do see some similarities between how JavaScript took almost a decade to come to a standard and releasing a new one. I guess that's the only part. Sure. Then the unexpected COVID pandemic has, in a way, stress tested the process efficiencies of all the companies. How were the early adopters of Industry 4.0 able to better handle the challenges posted by the pandemic?
So there have actually been quite a few studies about this topic, and some of my favorite are actually from McKinsey. They had one study that showed how companies were able to respond to the crisis in comparison to their Industry 4.0 maturity. And not surprisingly, those that were more mature in their Industry 4.0 journey were able to respond faster to the pandemic. And this same study said that 65% of companies were now more optimistic about the prospects for digital technologies than just 1 year ago. And this was said in 2021. Now, on the flip side, though, the pandemic did force some companies to halt their Industry 4.0 investments, mostly because of travel restrictions and cash constraints. The irony here, though, is that Industry 4.0 was hard to implement during a pandemic. Yes, but those that had the technology set up were able to do it very well. And remote work was a great example. If you had the infrastructure set up to do remote work, you were impacted a lot less by the pandemic.
That's very true. Yeah, I'll just shoot forward to my next question. Innovations in AI are advancing at a rapid pace. It's becoming easier and easier to deploy AI systems today than how it was a decade back. How significant is the role of AI systems in fulfilling the requirements for Industry 4.0? And I'll add my second question right there. And what are your thoughts on how it will transform the future of industry processes?
So AI is personally one of my favorite subjects and favorite parts of Industry 4.0. And what makes artificial intelligence so interesting, especially compared to most other technologies out there, is how ubiquitous it is in its application. It impacts nearly every industry, nearly every department, and even every job function, all the way from the shop floor to the CEO. And not many technologies can claim that. So AI, though, really is considered, in my opinion, it's the epitome at Industry 4.0. It's at the higher levels of the maturity scale. And so in order to utilize it, at least properly, AI needs the right infrastructure. It needs a tremendous amount of data, and it needs the right processes to turn the insights that AI can generate into action. And this requires a successful digital transformation culture. So when it comes to manufacturing, AI isn't a place you can just start in your Industry 4.0 journey. It's a place that you usually end up with when everything else is connected together and working. So how significant is AI? Well, I think it can be the most defining technology of our time. It's the part of Industry 4.0 where everything comes together to make powerful, game-changing actions. I mean, if we think about it, all AI is a decision-making tool to help automate or augment our decisions, and oftentimes answering questions that we never knew were possible to previously answer. And to answer kind of what AI can do, well, it provides visibility into processes. It can reduce errors in repetitive tasks. It can detect defects in products and anomalies in processes. And those both reduce waste and improving production. AI gives us better insights into patterns and correlations, and even potentially the causation of different actions. And this can be everything from the past to providing predictions about the future. And it can do this far better than humans ever could. AI can optimize processes and even look for areas of improvement automatically. And from a labor side, it will free up employees from tedious, repetitive tasks to allow their skills and knowledge to be better applied to other areas.
Absolutely. I remember when I joined industry, it was data-driven decisions were all the rage, but this is even a different level of taking that approach to a whole approach of getting the whole, as the standard definition you explained, and it affects for everyone from bottom to top. So yeah, that is really insightful. I'm really thankful for that. Are there any sound bites you would like to share with our audiences?
Sure. So my advice, whether you like the term Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing or digital factory or digital manufacturing, whatever you choose, they really should be thought of as visions or journeys rather than destinations with clear boundaries. What this means is that the concepts are really in the eyes of the beholder. It can and will mean different things to different people and different companies. And that's okay. So instead of waiting for this formal definition to be adopted by everyone in the industry, you should figure out what it means to your company. You should establish a vision using the concepts that are discussed in the industry and communicate that vision across the entire organization to drive change through all the technological advancements that have come out in the past several years.
Sure. Yeah, that's really insightful. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights with us. For more content, subscribe to Engati and tap the bell icon to get exclusive content from thought leaders from around the globe. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in the new expert very soon.